So let's try a Ferris wheel question. We have a Ferris wheel, beautiful as always. It's got little stairs up to it. These stairs are 2 meters tall. From the center of the Ferris wheel to the edge is about 25 meters. And this Ferris wheel can rotate all the way around in 75 seconds. We're going to try to model this with an equation. What kind of equation would we use? We got to first think about, well, where do you get on a Ferris wheel? If we got on a Ferris wheel, well, probably since there's stairs there, probably at the bottom. And we got to think about which of our equations we would use. Remembering that a sine starts in the middle and goes up. A negative sign starts in the middle and goes down. Positive cosine starts up here and goes this way. And a negative cosine starts here and goes down. So which one do you think we would use? Possibly the negative cosine. So I've got a negative cosine graph. Now I don't know what the amplitude is, the period, the phase shift, or the vertical translation. Let's try to think about where we might find these pieces of information. Well, my vertical translation is from the middle of my graph. So where would the middle of this graph be? Oh, there it is. It's right there. It's the middle of my graph. How far from the ground would that be? That would be 27. So far, I've got one of my 4 pieces of information. That seems interesting. What else do you think I could find next? I could find the amplitude. Distance from the middle to the top or the middle to the bottom. And that would be possibly 25. So far, so good. What about the b? How would I find the b? The b is the period. The period is how long it affects the period. How long would it take it to go all the way around? 75 seconds. I have an equation for the period, which is 2 pi over my b. So if I know my period was 75 seconds, 2 pi over what number would give me 75? Well, if I tried to solve that equation, I could times both sides by b, and then my b's would cancel. Then to get the b by itself, I'd have 2 pi over 75. So it looks like my equation's getting more and more complete. Minus 25 was my amplitude, or my amplitude was 25. It was minus because it was going down. And my b is 2 pi over 75. X minus c plus 27. Now let's got to figure out what kind of phase shift I need. Well, the really nice part about picking a negative cosine graph is that it'll start exactly at the bottom. So I actually have no phase shift. So we have just developed a trigonometric equation to represent a Ferris wheel question, where this all represents the height of this Ferris wheel at any time. What kind of question do you think I could ask you? Something like, when are you 37 meters above the ground? So where do you think we would substitute that 37 in? Possibly for my height. How would I solve this? I could solve it by hand, a little tricky, or I could use my graphing calculator. I think I'll choose to use my graphing calculator this time. So I pull my graphing calculator out. I check to make sure that I am indeed in radians. And I'm going to make some substitutions. I'll do the hard equation first, 37. Then I'll look at the other equation, negative 25 cosine 2 times pi times x divided by 75 plus 27. Now, in order to see this on my graph, I'm going to have to make sure my window fits. X is my time, so I'll make my time go from 0 and then all the way around would be 75 seconds. Does this thing dig into the ground? Probably not, so I'm going to make its lowest point 0. Highest point, it's 2 meters plus 25 is 52. I'll make it 55 so I can see my graph. Let's see what we get. Line of 37. Our graph looks something like that. Looks like it crosses it twice. I'll just find the intersection point for the first time it reaches 37. Move this over and see what it comes up with. It took 23.66 seconds to reach that height for the very first time. I hope you found that helpful.